Welcome to another episode of Just Joking Podcast. I am one half of the podcast king checking in, and I got my main man Joe with me today. Joe, how's it going, brother?
It's going, man. How you doing?
Man, we have made it to where we are now recording episode number 6.
That's nuts.
Seis. I learned a little bit of Spanish back in my heyday, though, so I can kind of get that word out. Man, so we're at the end of March 2021. We've got the first quarter of the year down.
Yep.
It's been going pretty fast to me, man.
Super fast.
At this point last year, we were about 3 weeks into COVID, which changed a lot of people worldwide.
Yeah. Which changed everybody worldwide. Yeah.
And 2021 is still been an interesting year for me.
Yeah.
How about you?
I mean, it's been eventful for being so limited as everything's been. It's been a pretty eventful year. I mean, not a ton of shit really happening for me, like other than like just normal life stuff.
Gotcha.
But it hasn't been boring. That's for sure.
All right. Well, how's your past week been?
Oh, it's been tough. In a good way. Like, it's one of those things where I say like work has positive stress.
Yeah.
Or I mean, you can argue there's no such thing as positive stress, but I consider it positive as in it's not like a negative thing happening. Like, it's not a bad thing happening. So it's just stress that comes with work and responsibility and shit like that. So just a lot of positive stress, just kind of being stressful, but things are happening, things are going well. Just busy wears you out.
You're a person that knows words, unlike me. Have you heard of the word eustress? Like eustress and de-stress?
I actually don't think I've ever heard of eustress.
Yeah, so you said something about having like a positive stress.
Yeah.
And eustress is by definition a moderate or normal psychological stress interpreted as being beneficial for the experiencer.
Okay.
And experiencer. I didn't know.
So I'm using the wrong word then. It's eustress.
Eustress.
Yep, okay.
Yep. Positive stress, eustress. I forgot where I even learned that from. It was probably some type of kumbaya event that I went to where they had, kind of talked about it. Now, I said that in jest, but I am also a huge believer in going to like a retreat or something that you can just, turn your mind off.
Yeah.
Because that's a bit of like problem is not the right word, but for me, I have a hard time turning my brain off.
I think these days most of us do, because there's just so much input, man.
Yes.
Everything,
and just a lot of responsibility as well.
Yeah, for sure.
That's my thing is, have I gotten this taken care of? Have I gotten that taken care of? How am I going to do X, Y, and Z when I still have to finish X, Y, and Z? And B and C was a result of me making a dumb choice, several years ago that I'm still paying for.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but me and you are both here, man.
Yeah.
We're doing this podcast. It looks like England outside right now with the rain and the, lack of sunlight.
Like foggy London. Yeah, it does indeed.
Yeah. One quick thing, too, and this is really random, but it just kind of crossed my mind. I still have not watched The Equalizer yet.
Me neither, man. It's killing me. But that's the thing is, like, it happened. It came up. We talked about it. The show aired a few times already, and I haven't heard anything. So that also kind of lends... I have lots of friends and people I know who watch shows and movies and talk about them consistently. Always making their opinions known, as we all do. And I haven't really heard anything about it. So I don't think the show's really memorable. So, because I mean, people would be talking about it if it was good. If it was bad, they'd be talking about it. So I don't think it's really hitting the mark.
Yeah, that's kind of the same way that I feel too, because I keep my ear to the streets as well on TV shows, and kind of like that. It kind of falls in the realm of like pop culture a bit.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I don't have the CBS app or whatever
Yeah,
it is
I
that
won't
it's
do
on.
it.
So that's
Yeah.
kind of part of the thing too.
Yeah.
I got Hulu, which I use somebody else's username and password for that. Shout out to him. He knows who he is. I got Netflix, but that's through my cell phone provider. So I don't
Yeah.
even pay for
Yeah.
it. Well, I pay for it in a sense.
Yeah, but I see where you're going with it. You know, you don't want to spend money on an app, especially if you're only doing it for one show.
Yep.
I mean, there are other good shows on the CBS app, but I'm not going to. I already have like 5 subscriptions. I'm not going to do another one.
Yeah. In this week's episode, man, I want to talk about something that me and you both have some experience in, and that's gaming.
Yeah.
This episode is pretty much just going to be gaming,
Video games.
and a couple of other things kind of sprinkled in there.
Nice.
But tell me about how gaming is for you, and were you a gamer prior to joining the Army at all?
So I think I've been playing video games since I was about 8. My uncle introduced me to Super Mario, and it was just like a wrap. Ever since then, I was a big video gamer. I did it a lot less as a kid than I do now. I did have like I was like, we were broke growing up, but my family always figured out a way to get me a console, like the Sega Genesis, the Nintendo. One day when it got cheaper, we got the PlayStation. And after that, like shortly after that, I joined the military, so I didn't really experience much like back home like that. But I spent a lot of time hanging out with people who also gamed. And that's where I discovered I liked multiplayer games.
Gotcha.
So like gaming for me now is all about playing with other people.
Same here.
Yeah. So that's how I socialize. That's how I hang out with my friends, and not just you guys, but like other friends too, like across the country. I got friends in England who I play video games with. Shout out to Lost Dwarf Prince. See if he listens to this.
Lost Dwarf Prince. All right.
Lost Dwarf Prince.
I have him on my Xbox Live.
Yeah.
I met him through you, man. He's a funny individual.
Yeah, he is. Across the pond. But yeah, it's all about playing with people and meeting people and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun.
Gaming, I got kind of introduced to gaming, almost a similar story, but not really. Like I said it, then I was like, actually it's not. It was my mom's friend. She had 2 sons. One was close to me and my brother's age. Me and him were pretty similar in age. And then this lady's oldest is about 5 or 6 years older than I am.
Okay.
So when we were kids and he was old enough to get a job and things like that, like he would always buy the latest system and all the games or whatnot.
Yeah.
And since my mom and their mom were friends, they would go to the club and stuff and all the time, and we just go up their house.
Nice.
And gaming sessions, man, all night. Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday.
That's life, man.
Just gaming, and we would take turns, and the guy didn't mind, sharing with these, younger kids or whatnot. But I want you to hear the beauty kind of in that story too. We're not out in the streets doing
crazy things. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We're at the house with popcorn, beer, not beer. Oh my goodness. That's what I do now. But popcorn, drinks, beef jerky, pizza. Yeah. Just having fun.
Being a kid, man.
Being a kid.
See, that's what it's about.
And also, being a kid, yes, we did get out.
Yeah, of course.
Ride our bikes literally 10, 13 miles up the road just to go to the mall, hang out and come back. Like, we also
still did kid things,
but gaming is and has always been fun for me.
Yep.
And I've took a pivot like you as well. I am more of a multiplayer or a social gamer.
Well, it's funny you say that, like you hanging out with your friend. I had a buddy upstairs whose name was also Joe. He lived in an apartment a few floors above me. Mm-hmm. And he had a computer. I didn't have a computer. And he would play like Doom, like OG Doom on his computer. And I'd go up there and I'd hang out with him. I wouldn't even get to play. Like I'd just sit there with him while he played because it was just so cool to watch somebody play Doom. And he had a PlayStation long before I did.
Yeah. And
we would play like Twisted Metal together, Battle Arena Toshinden, like the original OG fighting game on PlayStation. But I spent a lot of time doing exactly like you, just hanging out at his place, playing video games with him and his siblings. I got to know them all really well. I'm still friends with a few of them on social media now. And just like that, those same memories, man, I had them too, man.
Mm-hmm.
And long, like lifelong, like friendships with a lot of these people. Like that's what gaming's all about. It's connecting people. It's wholesome. Like, we might be playing a shitty game, but the connection that people build through gaming, there's something wholesome in that. There's something great in that, you know?
Yep. I've got a group of friends of mine that we call each other the Afros, right? And I met them through a person who is no longer a friend of mine at all, not even an associate. If he called me, I wouldn't even pick up the phone.
Damn.
That's just me. But I met these group of people through him online.
Yep.
Over maybe back in 2012, 2013.
Good amount of time.
It was like right when I moved here to Maryland, which is where I'm at now. And then since that time, we've all met in person.
Yeah.
I've gone up to one of the guys' house several times. You know, he's hosted me with open arms, no problem.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just like we had met each other prior.
And like you had met in person first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what friendship's all about, man. It's awesome.
Are you a streamer at all?
I'm not now, but I want to be.
Okay.
Like, I want to do it, and not to get like internet famous or anything like that. I just want to do it. Yeah. I just enjoy the connectivity between people, you know. So eventually, I'm gonna get to it. Yeah.
I've tried it, man. I've dabbled with it. I haven't been consistent with it.
Yeah, that's the tough part.
Yes, that is a tough part, and also I haven't had an optimum setup for it yet.
That's a trick too.
I think I'm there now, but I still have a couple of things that I want to work on.
Of course.
And you know, just like how I've talked about on a couple of podcasts in the past, you know, progress over perfection. I'm going to get there because here's the thing. I like gaming. I game a lot.
Why not hang out with people while you do it? I mean, if you're looking to make some coin, that's a good way to make some coin too. Mm-hmm. So why not make it something good, something big, you know?
So are you a console gamer or a PC gamer or a bit of both?
I'm a bit of both. I find myself playing a lot more on the PC because I play MMOs. An MMO, let's be honest. I play Warcraft, and I know there's probably a few collective eye rolls there, but I play Warcraft on the console, but I play Xbox quite a bit.
Okay.
When I can, obviously. As we're recording this tomorrow, Outriders comes out on the Xbox, and I'm super jacked for that one to come out. I'm ready. Like, that game is good. I'm looking forward to it.
Now, it was probably you that was talking about it. Is that one of the games that if you have Xbox Live Xbox Game Pass, you don't pay for it, right?
Exactly.
I'm gonna check it out.
I'm buying it because you get a little bit of extra stuff, but more specifically, I want to support the studio behind it.
Okay.
People Can Fly. They're a smaller studio, and they did not expect this game to do as good as it's doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't even supposed to go to Game Pass, but because of the popularity of the demo, they decided to up the ante.
Okay.
So now Square Enix and People Can Fly are like, oh snap, we're going to have to change this from being not a live service game to being able to provide more content for this game. Like, what you pay for was what you get. Now they're talking about, well, maybe we should do more. So that's exciting. It's interesting. It's interesting because it was built from the ground up to not be a live service game. Like, not to bash other games like Destiny or Division or games like that. Like, those
Marvel
are live service. Yes, that's a live service game. So this game wasn't designed to be like that, and and honestly, it shows. It plays better than a lot of those games play.
Huh.
So I'm interested to see if they can build on a successful business model like they've developed and see if they can make it into a game that's bigger than a non-live service game without being as rough as a live service game can sometimes get.
Did you do any of the testing for it?
Yes, I played the demo like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I got about a good 20 hours into the demo. And the demo's super short. It's super short, but you get to keep all your progress and it carries over into the live game, which is pretty cool. Not a lot of games have done that in the last few years, especially those live service games I just mentioned. Not a lot of them have done that.
Give the listeners a quick summary of what Outriders is, because
Okay.
even when you talked about it, I just kind of went online,
Yeah.
looked it up, saw it was crossplay,
Yeah.
and that if you had Game Pass,
Yeah.
you'd be able to play it. So I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
But I haven't looked at any YouTube clips or anything.
Okay.
So what is the game?
Well, it's a third person shooter with like superpowers, right? So it's like Destiny, it's like Division, and it's like Gears of War with like a Mad Max skin thrown over it.
Gotcha.
So it plays like all three of those games kind of combined into one game, and it's just graphically it's bloody, it's great. I think a lot of people who play like Gears of War are really gonna dig it. If you like the overpowered feeling of like being a guardian in Destiny, this is right up your alley too. And I'm not saying it's going to replace any of those games. I'm not going to say it's going to dethrone any of those games, but it's in its own little world of what it is. It's a really cool, fun game. And it's a three-man squad, shoot 'em up, drop in, drop out, looter, shooter.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like Borderlands 2. Like if you play any of those games, it's cool. I'm looking forward to it.
I am intrigued. Ooh, speaking of Borderlands.
Yes.
Borderlands the movie.
The movie.
Have you seen any news about it other
All
than
the
that they're
casting?
producing it? Yeah.
Dude, the people they got in that movie are crazy. It's
Well, I
like
was in it because I saw
Kate-
Kevin Hart. Is
It's
that
Kevin
true?
Hart.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Kevin Hart as Roland. Kate Blanchett, which I was surprised. Jamie Lee Curtis,
As
which
who?
threw me. I gotta look that back up, but
Okay.
but I mean,
I know a little Borderlands lore, but not a lot. But I,
I
can't
mean, when
imagine
she's not doing
who she
Activia
would-
commercials, she's usually doing some Halloween shit. So it's interesting to see her go from doing those now scary movies to something like a little bit more funny, haha, Borderlands. She hasn't really done something like that since like Freaky Friday or True Lies. So it's gonna be cool to see her in there, especially alongside people like Kate Blanchett and Kevin Hart. Like I'm just like, wow. I mean, and I think they got Jack Black to do the voice of the robot, and all my friends who know me are gonna be like, how could you? Oh, Claptrap. He's gonna play Claptrap.
Uh-huh.
All my friends would have gave me mad shit if I couldn't remember Claptrap's name. But yeah, the cast is looking cool. Like, I don't have a lot of faith because it's a video game movie. They don't
Yes.
tend to make those as well as they make. I don't understand. They can make a movie about comic books where there's no content to draw from other than cartoons from the 90s. They can make super amazing movies about characters that don't exist, but they can't recreate characters from a video game where there's content to draw from. I mean, they did it with The Witcher on Netflix, but they
Yeah.
got Netflix money.
I
You know?
like that Netflix movie.
Yeah, let's see how they do with this, because I really would love to see a video game movie be good. You know,
Like, did you see the Red Band trailer for the upcoming Mortal Kombat?
Mortal Kombat, bro. I am so ready for Mortal Kombat.
Yes, yes, that is. So let's kind of take that back a bit.
Okay.
The very first Mortal Kombat movie. The
Oh,
very
yeah.
first one.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
I loved it. I saw it in theaters.
Same here. I can't think
It's-
of the ones after where I was.
I saw the second one
watched
too.
it Where I was like,
I saw the second one too, Annihilation. It was mediocre.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could argue that the original Mortal Kombat was mediocre too, but I thought it was really cool because,
Yeah.
I mean, at the time, the whole mythology from Mortal Kombat wasn't as fleshed out as we've been able to see over the course of the last 15, 20 years. All the video games have fleshed out the mythology behind Mortal Kombat so much more. So it's great to finally see what that's going to look like on the screen. Because you got to think about when they created the first one, they had 1, maybe 2 games to draw from. Not a lot of story other than what the creators had in mind at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Now we've got 20 plus years to really think and create and change. I'm really excited for it. And it looks like they're keeping authentic to the vibe of Mortal Kombat with like the fatalities and whatnot.
Yes.
I'm ready.
Yes.
I'm so ready.
I saw that Red Band trailer, and when I got done with it, I didn't realize that I went from sitting down to standing up.
Yeah.
Because I was that just hyped.
Bro. And I can tell you which scene sold me too.
Uh-huh.
It was in the Red Band trailer. I'm not spoiling anything. It's in the trailer, folks. Jax has his arms. And I'm like, is that Jax or is that somebody else?
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, oh snap, that's Jax.
Yes.
I'm like, oh, this is gonna end badly.
Yes.
And then that fight with Sub-Zero where he freezes his arms and snaps them off.
Yes.
I was like, yo, that's how you sell a movie, bro.
Mm-hmm.
You show you and it doesn't even have to be a long backstory for Jax. It's literally they do a mission, he gets his arm froze off by Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero beats the shit out of him. Bam, Jax backstory. And it's already better than anything that they did in the previous films.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So, and the fights between Sub-Zero and Scorpion, man, those fights, that fight, or if there's multiple fights, it better be good. Because that's the meat and potatoes of the movie, is what happens between Scorpion and Sub-Zero, and then anything with Liu Kang and whoever this new main character they got. I'm not tracking his name. It's probably a character I know, but I wasn't tracking it from the trailer. But it looks so good.
Mm-hmm. Now, going from games like a fighter game, Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
Actually, let me ask you this. Back in the day, so not now, but back in the day, what genre of games were you playing and why?
I think back then I was all over the place up until I discovered Final Fantasy, which I can tell you the game that changed my life, which was Final Fantasy VII.
Yes.
Final Fantasy VII was just a new kind of game. And it was, to me, it's still one of the best RPGs ever created. Ever created. Yeah. Like I haven't seen, like I don't have the right console for the new remake, which I'm incredibly hurt to not be able to have both consoles. I'm not going to do it. But for me, it's not going to compromise that OG feeling of Final Fantasy VII, so I'm not upset. But let me tell you, that game really changed everything about how I viewed video games and solidified the whole co-pilot thing that I had at the time. My best friend at the time, he would play the game, and I'd, like, this is before strategy guides and stuff like that, so we'd have to, like...
Oh, my goodness.
Like, then like, the strategy... Like, it was before the internet, obviously. Well, yeah.
Yes,
kind of. Yeah. So we did have the strategy guide. I'll correct myself. We were trying to figure out the secrets on how to unlock certain things, and I'd be like going through the strategy guide, sitting with my buddy.
Those.
Yeah, that used to be a thing. Like, you didn't have the internet. You couldn't go on your phone and find the secrets out. You had to like read through a book. And I remember just spending hours upon hours not even playing the game and still being in love with the game.
Yes.
That's such a crazy concept, you know? And then, of course, I was completely smitten with Pokemon.
Okay.
That game, when it came out, I remember when it came out because they had just come out with the Game Boy Pockets. And so they were smaller and they had colors. So I bought a red one to go with Pokemon Red.
Okay.
And it was just all redded out, dude. I felt like a G. It was all redded out, and I was playing Pokemon like crazy with my friends. And yeah, that's what my early gaming life was like. I was kind of all over the place.
Same
But
here.
RPGs became my favorite after that.
Same here, man. I was RPG heavy, and a lot of it was, so like I said, it was my mom's friend household that they always had the latest and greatest. Now we had consoles in our house as well.
Yeah.
But because he had the money and
new
he would
stuff.
buy,
Yeah.
he would buy stuff and then we would just borrow games
Yeah, of course.
from his house.
Smart.
But I liked the Marios. I liked the action stuff, the side scroll, Double Dragons, and all of that.
Contra.
And then Contra, heavy in Contra.
Yes.
And then as the consoles upgraded, that to like Star Fox.
Yes.
The Mario Kart.
Mario Kart's my jam, bro.
Ooh, man, that
I
game
love
still
that they
gets
keep
played to this day.
Yep, I love that they keep coming out with new ones because that means I can play with my kids. My kids always challenge me, and I always have to alpha on them and show them how to really play the game. Yeah.
And then at some point, similar to you, RPGs, and I would actually just watch my friend play and get engrossed into the story. And then RPGs even got better to then you could play through, but then do different things.
Yeah.
To where your tune, your character wasn't the same from the previous time that you played through, and still get the hours of content, and go through that way. Chrono Trigger, Dragon's Quest,
Man,
Final
Chrono
Fantasy.
Trigger. Yeah,
Those
Final Fantasy Tactics was also one of my all-time favorite games.
I put some time into Tactics.
Tactics was a great game.
See, I like the strategy games, man.
They were just so good. I think what really sold games like Tactics was the amount of classes you could be. Like and the job system of Tactics was like awesome. Like I want more games like that.
Did you ever play Command and Conquer at all?
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I played a few iterations of Command and Conquer. The whole RTS scene was good initially, and then it got to be so sweaty that I just couldn't keep up. Like I wasn't as good as the people who were like dominating in RTSs.
There are people that can click, boom, and do all this and zoom out and go to here and get commands all this.
It's a science
like,
to them.
Click.
Yeah.
Click.
See, and that's what killed RTSs for me. Yeah, because I played like OG Warcraft. Like before it became World of Warcraft, I played old Warcraft, the RTS, and I loved it. That's what got me into World of Warcraft. But yeah, it got to be so hard to play against people in like Warcraft and StarCraft that eventually the RTSs just burned out for me.
So I want to bring up Warcraft and
Of course.
World of Warcraft, but before I do, my introduction into Warcraft came at a time that I was still in the military.
Me too.
And it was also when I swapped from Sony to Microsoft on the console.
Yes.
So when I was overseas in Japan, Xbox came out with Xbox Live. So that was sometime between 2006 and 2009.
Yeah.
Somewhere off in there, because that's when I was stationed overseas. And I had the PlayStation, and I was playing, and I had a couple of friends that would come over and play Madden or whatnot. But then other people in my unit had Xboxes, and then Xbox Live came out with the party chat, and then they would come to work the next day talking about stuff that happened while they were gaming. And I'm like, well, how'd you know? It was like, oh, we were all in the
party.
Chat.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
You can do what?
It changed gaming, man.
And then I went up and I saw kind of how it was. I went and got my Xbox the next day.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny, too, because before all that Xbox Live nonsense started, we would, I was in the military, we were living in the barracks. We'd have 4 Xboxes, and we would have LAN cables going through the ceiling tiles in between the rooms. And we'd connect 4 separate rooms with 4 controllers in each room, and we'd play Halo, 16-man Halo.
Yes.
And it was the greatest bonding experience we had as a unit. Like we would play all the time. And then eventually when Live came out and you could play online with people, that was it, man. That was my jam.
So I'm going to make you punch me in the face right now. Because
you never played Halo.
Oh no, I did.
Oh, okay. Because that's a punishable offense.
Air Force deployments versus Army deployments.
Oh, yeah.
When I deployed, we deployed to relatively safe locations.
Yeah.
But then, as an aviator, we would fly over locations that
over hostile areas
that other guys would be at where they're sleeping with rifles and there's like mortar alarms and things going off.
Yeah.
We didn't have that. We had Burger Kings on base and, the Starbucks equivalent, if you will.
Yeah.
And the ability, we didn't have the internet then. Apparently they have the internet now to where they can do this.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But we would do the same thing. We'd have on our deployments, Xboxes in our, air-conditioned trailers, land up, and when you weren't on missions flying or anything like that, if you try to sweet talk the enlisted person or whoever that was in charge of kind of like the room assignments to, put people that were gamers closer together. That way you could have those LAN parties. And
of course.
Like that,
I mean, you do what you got to do, man. I don't, I know we tease each other about our branch rivalries and stuff like that, but ultimately, I don't judge people for their deployments because, first off, how many of us actually have control over that? You know what I mean? And second of all, just because you lived better, you had better quality of life, doesn't mean your deployment was any less difficult.
True.
So I try not to judge people too much by their shit. I've been judged for the quality of my life while on deployment from another person who had it a little bit harder. And I'm like, it's the same deployment. I just had a better quality of life.
Mm-hmm.
But people do that. So it is what it is.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I just kind of want to.
Nah, you're good. I mean, but yeah, like barracks life, man, you got to do what you got to do to get that gaming on, man.
Yes.
Gaming is life, dude.
Now, also when I was overseas in Japan, that's when I got introduced to World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Now, I never played Warcraft. I never heard of Warcraft or the lore or knew anything behind it. But some of the people that I gamed with when I eventually moved over to Xbox, they played World of Warcraft. So around 2006, I don't remember what version of Warcraft it was.
2006.
Was it vanilla?
No, it might have been Burning Crusade.
Okay.
Yeah. Because Burning Crusade came out about 2 years after Classic or Vanilla was out.
I was enthralled by the story of the game.
Yeah. And
you had the Horde versus the Alliance.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it was, the Horde were these evil, orc trolls, that were out to just burn everything. And the Alliance was the do-gooders. And I was Alliance all the way, I was, give me the ability to be a paladin, because I want to say back then
paladins were only Alliance until Burning Crusade.
Shamans were only Horde, right? Yep. And I was like, oh man, you mean I get to be a knight? A knight that can do spells? Sign me up. So I ended up joining, and me and a couple of people, the guys who got me into it, one still plays to this day.
Yeah.
And we would level up and play. And it was that social gaming experience.
Yeah, it's that connection with people.
That did it for me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then when I wasn't playing with them, I would go off and create like an alt character.
Of course.
And then really go through the different storylines of things. Yeah. Figure out who's who, what's what. For the longest time too, I played only Alliance.
Yeah.
Only Alliance. I was like, screw the Horde. F the Horde, all this and that.
And then you grew up and you realized the Horde's where it's at.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, I did. So you play Classic WoW.
I do play Classic.
Now, right?
Yeah, I do play Classic.
Why did you pivot from Shadowlands, which is the current World of Warcraft expansion, back to Classic?
So there's a real, I'm super competitive. And I always was a part of a guild and everybody worked together to reach the end state, get the bosses down and get the gear and be good, and I found myself not really enjoying I see, and it sounds worse than it is. it's almost like you have to work too hard for less reward because of the way they've changed it in Shadowlands, which is the current expansion for retail. WoW. They've reduced the amount of rewards you can get, which they've stepped back from and they've fixed to make it where you get more rewards. But you almost have to break yourself with how much you have to do to get there. And it used to not be that way. They used to like throw gear at you, which honestly, with how much you have to do to be optimal, I almost felt like that was better. I mean, you had more options, more variety. Now it's just like you might get one piece on a run in an instance, and then it's like it might not even be the right one. So you just did all of that for nothing.
Does it make you feel apoplectic?
There it is.
That they've catered to more of the masses than the hardcore players?
That's the thing, is it's almost like they're catering to the hardcore people. It's actually it's a little different. Like, I should be happy with the system that's in place. I just found that I wasn't, and I wasn't really vibing with the new content either. Like, I like Shadowlands as an experience. I don't enjoy raiding in Shadowlands.
Gotcha.
So, like, I think the expansion is good. I think it's a lot of fun, but the systems that they came up with, something called a covenant. You join a group in the game, and that group gives you powers and abilities, and it makes you stronger. I was excited about that, but also very kind of hesitant, like a little worried that it could break the game. And when I was playing and somebody was like, well, that's not the right covenant, you should choose this covenant because it's stronger for your class, you're going to do better with this one. The minute I thought about changing, I was like, I don't like that. I don't want to have to. Like, I wanted to enjoy thematically the one that I chose.
Gotcha.
You know, the team that I was on, I was happy with it. So I just felt there was a lot of design issues that they didn't, kind of screwed up on. But also, I took a break from retail during the pandemic, and Classic was out. So I thought I'd give Classic a try. During that time, I met up with the guild that I'm in now, and I really just enjoy the people. I enjoy being like in Discord. We all chat through Discord. Used to be Ventrilo.
Yes, yeah. I was trying to think of that.
Yeah. Or TeamSpeak.
Yes.
TeamSpeak and Ventrilo, yeah. So now we have Discord, of course. But I really enjoyed them. And when retail came out, when Shadowlands came out, I tried balancing both. I realized I couldn't do that for sure. Could not do that. So I experienced all of the raid in the first version of Shadowlands. Once we beat it, I was like, yeah, that's it. It's not for me. And I went back to Classic, and I've been I just enjoying Classic. It's a lot of fun. It's less complex in some ways. In other ways, it's more complex because back then you had limited options. So you had to be really good to be able to compete with people who might have more gear than you. And it was all about playing your class a specific way. So you had to know your class. You had to know what was important, what wasn't. And I really enjoyed that. And I enjoy everyone working towards a common goal, like actually legitimately helping each other and stuff like that. That's what I enjoy about Warcraft. Same. Working as a team. It's kind of like being in the military. Just less less life or deathy.
I got two things to bring up to close out gaming.
Sure.
The first thing is, you are aware of the Wounded Warrior Project's gaming community?
Yes, I am.
Discord?
Yep, I'm on it.
Yes. I would like to tell people that if you're a gamer out there, and let's say you're looking for like-minded people to play with, WWP, which is kind of slang for Wounded Warrior Project. I don't know if you have to be a WWP member to be able to join that community, but check on your eligibility if you are listening to this and you're a veteran, or if you're a WWP alum already but didn't know about the gaming community, reach out, join that Discord. I'm not active in there because my current circle of gamers, I have different games that I play and certain games that I play with certain people. And in the limited time, that I have, it's pretty much played with those guys.
Yeah.
However, I will jump on in the Discord from time to time. And if I'm looking like for somebody to play Magic the Gathering with or whatnot, I'll send the ping. And typically it's like, hey, man, I ain't doing nothing. I'll jump on. And then sometimes those games just talking to or goes into conversations where we're just talking about our family, our lives, and different things like that. So I wanted to put that plug out there.
It's a good
real
plug.
Quick. And then the other thing I wanted to ask you.
Sure.
There was a point where gaming consumed a lot of my time.
Yes, same here.
And I shrugged responsibilities because of it. Mm-hmm. Were you, well, you just answered, that you were.
Yeah.
And how did that affect you personally, man? And how did you overcome it?
So it's tough because Warcraft came out while I was deployed to Iraq. And I spent all of my free time on the deployment thinking about playing that game, because before the deployment I was really into the World of Warcraft mythos. I read the books, I played the games, so I was really excited for the game. When I came back, I was a little messed up. Mm-hmm. I was in the early years of not being diagnosed. I was in the early years of dealing with a pretty rough deal with PTSD. And I went through a divorce, and once I was single, like, all bets were off. Like, I didn't have responsibilities other than to the army. I'd get off work. I'd play until super late at night. I'd go to sleep. I'd wake up, go to do PT. I'd come home from lunch and play. And, like, I'd rinse and repeat for days upon days. I still had a social life, but, like, not that much of one. Mm-hmm. Like, I spent so much time playing, and I could only do that because I was completely isolated. I didn't have a lot of friends. So when I say I had a social life, like, I'd go out to, like, clubs and stuff like that. But, like, I didn't have, like, any friends I hung out with or anything like that other than in the game.
Got you.
So I poured most of my free time into that game. Like, it was bad. Like, it was really bad. Like, you go an entire weekend where you barely get up out of your seat. That's bad.
Yes.
So,
Absolutely bad. Like, I laugh, but it's like,
but we did it.
Yeah. Yes. I'll tell you mine, and then I'll guess if you've gone higher, which I think you have. I did 10 hours without moving from my chair one time in one sitting.
I might have got up to use the bathroom and drink, but 18 hours.
Have you ever had a pee bottle next to you so you didn't have to get up?
No, I never
did.
That. See, that's some deployment shit. Like, I'd have done that on a deployment, but back but once we were back in garrison and everything like that, I never did that. But yeah, no, I know people who have done that. So
I wasn't bad. Like, those times would happen. It'd be like once a year or something like that, where I have a session or something like
no judgments,
that long,
no judgments.
But it did happen.
Yeah.
I was married at the time, and my ex, as far as I know, she didn't have an issue with me gaming kind of in general, but there was a time that I got into World of Warcraft where she did, spend time with me. I shouldn't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Thank you.
Yeah.
But it was like, I would like it if you spent some time
and that's
with me.
Fair.
Yes,
and that's fair. But
is.
at the time, it annoyed the shit out of you,
yes,
I'm sure. Yeah.
And that's why I stopped myself from saying it.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm not even going to edit that out. That is going to stay in there. Because we're getting, actually, too, this is a side note, sure. We're like one take Jake over here. There is no editing, and that's easy on the editor of this podcast.
Thank you.
So,
thank you, King.
Yes. I didn't want to toot my own horn. But no, man. Let's pin that to kind of wrap up on the game.
Okay.
And then we'll close out with if you got a word of.
Sure, I got a word for you.
Okay. Before we get to your word of the day,
Sure.
I want to go into the crazy story.
Oh,
that
here
I
we
have
go.
as well, because I always like to put these crazy stories.
Here's the
out
what
there.
the hell.
So there were a few that I was going to kind of go with. This one made me laugh, and I shouldn't, and you'll hear why. The subject goes, this is the horrifying moment a desperate factory worker jumped into a superheated 900 Celsius steel furnace after allegedly losing, and I don't know what this currency is, but it says 6,000 something on the stock market. And the equivalent of that, which I did look up, it's about $9,000. It's like
not a lot.
It's like 60,000 won, which I guess is the Chinese currency.
Is it Chinese?
60,000 won, YUAN. And so they
the yen, or I think it's yen, or
they called it won. In this
won.
article.
Okay, well, it's probably you read it, so you know.
But then it goes Wang Long, 34, and I stopped, dropped my phone, cracked up laughing, couldn't finish the rest of the article because tears was coming out of my face because this guy's name is Wang Long. But it goes, Wang Long had went missing from a night shift at a Chinese steel factory where he worked before surveillance footage revealed the disturbing chain of events that
That's
led to his
incredibly
death. And the long story short,
sad.
I watched the video. He just Terminator style walks up in that bitch and takes his own life.
That's
And
insane.
Now we're talking about suicide here, you
Yeah.
know, and we've had.
Which is the only reason why, which is why I'm not laughing. Like that sucks, man. That's horrifying. And you think like it's crazy because we think about $9,000 and we're just like, that's nothing. But for him, it was a lot of money.
I'm curious because it doesn't get into like his family because this just got published today.
Oh wow.
So.
Yeah, I haven't seen that story.
How could, it's just one of these like, what's going through his mind to where he looks at this and goes,
"That's horrifying,
I'm
man.
out." And
that's horrifying. I mean, he might have had a lot of things happening in his life, and that was the straw that broke the camel's back, man.
Okay, actually, you know what? If I go down further, it says, according to colleagues, the introverted factory worker who was unmarried had been trading on the stock market for a while. So he wasn't married. Did that mean that he didn't have a girl?
Yeah.
Maybe didn't, a family. I know in China's culture, some things are kind of different with, that. But
that's crazy, too, because I had read an article about this kid. I think it was like Wisconsin or Michigan or something, or Kansas. I know there's nowhere near each other. But he was trading on one of those apps on the phone, and he was doing options.
Yes.
And he had gotten an email saying that. Did we talk about this in a previous episode?
In like the first or the second episode.
Yeah, but it's the same concept. It's that same concept as that kid who thought he lost all this money and he didn't. But this guy definitely lost that money. It's just crazy to think that those things could push you over that. I mean, we know that those are perfectly normal things to cause massive anxiety and stress.
Mm-hmm.
Money is a big factor for a lot of things. So I completely understand the anxiety, the depression that person must have been going through. But it's so horrible to hear that it was enough to take that step, and it's so sad to hear.
And also too, have you ever been around like flaming hot fire? Like,
I don't even want to think about what that man went through in his final moments. Because
for you to push yourself and go towards that kind of heat, I can't imagine that.
I can't either.
I can't imagine that.
Like it's ooh.
So that's the crazy story that I had for this episode.
Yeah, that's a bad one.
I was able to sneak apoplectic in there. I was trying to see
apoplectic.
Apoplectic. I was trying to figure out a way to do it, and I think I used it in the right context. I wasn't. I give myself a 4 out of 10 on the slide in. So what do you have for me this week?
This week, I have Castigate.
Castigate. I've heard of this. It's kind of like dismember or separate.
No.
Dang it. That's
a good one.
All right, what you got for me?
It's to severely reprimand someone.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
How would you use that in a sentence?
John was castigated for his behavior.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Reprimand. I already got some ideas on how I'm gonna slide that.
That one's kind of an easier one. It's just
next.
a complex $10 word for reprimand.
Okay. Something that I'm gonna start doing too is I'm gonna include the words and the definitions into the show notes.
Do that, yeah.
That way it's also easier on me in case I forget. Now, for last week's word, I actually went and practiced it and looked it up, figured out how to spell it because how it sounds and how I thought it would be spelled is two totally different things.
Yeah.
But castigate sounds relatively easy to spell without even. Let me try this. Castigate, like just how it sounds. Castigate.
Yeah. Perfect.
Bam.
Perfect.
This is the 6th grade spelling bee champ. By the way, checking in. So.
Yeah, and you think it's funny. You guys always talk about the way I speak and the words I use, and I don't know if you think I only do that with adults, but I do that with my kids too.
Oh, that's good.
I use big words around them. It's funny too because my kid was at Walter Reed today. Nothing bad, nothing major. And one of the providers mentioned that she was very eloquent. And I was like, nice. Like that's a really good compliment, for her age because she's only 10. So, but it makes me feel good because my wife always justifies it. She tells, the people when they ask, like, why does she speak the way she does? She always explains what I do for a living and that I use big words around my family and my kids because I want them to have more diverse vocabulary, So it's nice. And I do it with everybody. So.
Nice. Yeah. Yep. Yes, you do. But I like that, because you'll say something, and I've talked about it in previous episodes where you'll say something, and I'll just kind of nod, and then later on, I'll be like, hey, so what that word means?
Yeah.
So
I think it's okay to admit when you don't know something, and I like that you ask because it challenges me to always use the correct word because I don't want to explain that I used the wrong word. You know what I mean? Because for me to use a word, I have to know what it means. More to the point, I also need to know how to spell it. Yes. I'm just like that. I'm not going to use a word I can't spell or I can't say, which is challenging.
Mm-hmm. Now, I am a relaxed guy. I have a very professional job.
Oh, yeah.
I sometimes forget that and go into straight relaxed mode.
Yeah.
And have to snap myself back into, hey, this is a professional job. Yeah. You need to kind of wear that hat.
Yeah.
A bit,
you'd be amazed too. Like a good vocabulary,
yes.
Just it'll carry you a long way.
Mm-hmm. In another episode, I'm going to talk with you and share with the listeners too. I have a speech impediment. Yes. I have a stutter. I did speech therapy when I was younger. When I was in high school, it was kind of there, kind of not. I had ways of getting through my fluency, which some people noticed and some people didn't. I was like, dude, I never knew that you stuttered in high school.
Yeah.
Right before I joined the Air Force, it kind of went away, and then somewhere afterwards, it came back. And it's still kind of here now. And my daughter, she maybe when she was about 5 or 6, me and her mom noticed as well, and she's currently in speech therapy now. So she's 13, and it didn't bother her kind of initially, but we've always told her hey, whenever you want speech therapy, then we'll look into
that's really good.
How to get it. And the school has some resources, and I am fortunate enough to have a good job in healthcare as well. That healthcare being I serve my country honorably, to be able to help pay for her weekly speech therapy sessions, which has been fantastic. But I want to include that in a new, or not a new episode, but in an episode kind of, somewhere
down the
line.
Okay, yeah.
So 6 episodes.
Yeah,
We've gotten through it.
Nice.
As usual, I don't know how to end these.
I think you're not knowing how to end it is how we end it.
Hey. So what do you have to kind of wrap up episode 6 here, Joseph?
Well, I'm gonna call you out for a moment, not in a bad way, but you laughed at the man's name for being Wang Long.
Yes.
And there's been a lot of problems that the Asian community have been dealing with lately.
The people can't see my face. I hope you picked up what I kind of went there.
Yeah.
I almost did not do this story.
Yeah, because of that. Yeah.
6 or so other stories.
Yeah.
But let's talk about it.
Yeah. So there's been a lot happening, not just recently. Like, that's the thing. That's what the Asian community is trying to get people to understand. This is not new. This is not all of a sudden things are bad. Things have gotten worse over the last 4 or 5 years, but ultimately they've been dealing with hate and racism for quite some time. And again, it's similar to the same kind of hate that I would assume the black community deals with, because there is a visible difference between them and other people. That's unfair. I think anybody who's ever dealt with that can. It's just incredibly unfair, because like the black community, like the Hispanic community, and every other community that lives in this country, they're just trying to have a good life.
Yes. Life,
liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I think everybody who's ever read the Constitution knows that we're all here trying to do the same thing. Nobody's here, minus the handful of sprinkled people across the country who do bad things. Nobody's here because they want to hurt anybody else. They're here because they want freedom. Like, the people who are being evil to these people, stop for a second and realize they're here because this country is America. You know what I mean? Like, they're here because they want to be here. Nobody's forcing them to be here. So stop treating them like they're doing something wrong. They just want to live, like, feed their family and have a good time, and not worry about some random asshole coming up and punching them in the face in the middle of the street, or worse, And I mean, it's hard to really put into words how these people must be feeling. But if anybody can understand, it's the other marginalized communities. And this isn't Asian versus anybody else. This is simply, they just want to be people. They want to live and be happy. Let's give them that courtesy. I don't see why, anybody who targets anybody is an asshole. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be based on race. It doesn't have to be based on anything. If you target anyone, like people who run up to somebody in the middle of the street and punch them in the face and just keep walking, they're a specific kind of bad person.
Can I jump in here?
Sure, go ahead.
I wanted to bring up this story, or not this story, but this topic in a different episode, because I can envision we can do a whole hour on this topic and this subject. There was an incident where you said somebody come up in the streets and
just randomly punching them.
It was you can't tell the ethnicity of the guy, but he stomach kicked a 60-something-year-old lady, and that was captured like in the hotel kind of surveillance from the inside camera.
Yeah.
And then you see what looks like a delivery worker, mailman, somebody like that. He looks and sees what happens, and he kind of sees what's going on. And then the security at the hotel
lock the door,
comes up to the door and kind of just closes it.
Yeah.
And this guy, the attacker, the aggressor, you don't know what the story is.
No, you have no idea what's going on.
But
it looks like some dude randomly kicks an old woman.
And I saw maybe about 3 or 4 hits. And my thought process, and for me, for King, it's not about man, woman, old, young.
Yeah.
My initial thought went, why would this guy assault someone on the street in what appears to be a very random, like, what kind of evil does that and why? What's the point? What's the purpose? Now, we won't get into that now.
Yeah.
Because we can keep going. But
Of course, yeah.
Let's go back to.
So going back to the general summary of what I'm trying to say is, be good to each other. There's not enough time to be evil like we've been doing, you know. And if you haven't been evil to anybody, awesome. Keep doing a good job. If what I say bothers you, even if you've never been evil towards anybody else, don't think about it like I'm talking about you. I'm just talking about a specific kind of people who go out and hurt other people. Just be a part of the solution. Don't listen to what I say and feel negatively about it. You know, if you feel negatively about it, then maybe confront the personal bias you might have and see if maybe you're looking at this the wrong way. You're not wrong. You're just looking at it the wrong way. Ultimately, we just need to be good to each other. Love each other. This is America, man.
There will be, matter of fact, maybe in the next episode, episode 7, I want to talk about that. I want to talk about ethics. I want to talk about, good and bad, Horde and Alliance. That was a joke. But like, I like to talk about that because that type of stuff fascinates me. I was coming out of a restaurant the other day, and I'm like, I don't know if this is like a respect thing or just whatnot, but as I was coming out of a door, there was a construction worker type dude that was right behind me, and it was one of those that, I'll just hold the door as he comes out as well. He said thanks in a very nice way. Yeah. I stopped because my phone rang. I picked it up, and while I was talking, that same guy who gave me a thank you, sir, as he walks out, him and this middle-aged white lady, I didn't see what happened. Yeah. But he went from very polite to, and I'm just going to quote exactly what he said. Bitch, you better watch what the fuck you say to me before I stomp your motherfucking ass out. Wow. And like, I looked up from my phone, like,
what just happened?
What just happened? Yeah. And why did this dude go from a very polite person? Yeah. Thank you, sir. Look me right in my eyes. Thank you, sir. Kept on walking to Joe. I'm not even talking maybe 10 seconds later because it wasn't that far from the curb to the car. And it looked like it was kind of going in the general direction. Yeah. And something was said or glance, I don't know. Yeah. But that's what he said to her. And she didn't say anything back. Which, because, so I'm kind of like, what happened? Yeah. Why did this guy go from polite to like literally, I would not have doubted that he would have assaulted her in some kind of way.
That's scary. The opportunity. That's scary.
You know what I'm saying? And then it kind of made me go, what would I have done? And for the episode, what would my responsibilities be, if any, to intervene or not? So, we'll end the podcast on there. Do you have any last words?
No, I think that's good.
All right.
It's a good setup for the next one.
This has been episode 6 of the Just Joking podcast. We out.